If you want to sound more natural in American English, there is a word you really need to understand, which is contrast. We need to create some separation and break some patterns in order for people to really understand what we're saying. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. You can do that with like pitch, like doing like really high and then like low. There's ways you can do that with volumes, like talking real loud, but then going quiet. But one of the ways that you can also do this, which I honestly just don't see enough from my students because it's a really powerful tool, but it's just one that I think we're not always considering in our speech, is we want to think about speed and the pace of what we say. And so today we're going to talk about some ways that maybe you're actually talking faster than native speakers are when you speak in American English. And we're going to talk about ways that you can try to avoid that from happening to make sure you can have the most natural sound. Good morning, guys. Good evening. Good afternoon. Welcome to your daily American English pronunciation show, which is Wake Up American. We are here Monday through Friday. Now, again, typically in the morning, it's hard. So you may be wondering, Jeff, you keep doing these night streams. Why are you doing these night streams? I have a couple students that I have in the morning, which has kind of run into conflict a little bit with my morning routine. So we still try to do some morning sessions as well. Although I also, you can see we're also using this mic. We just had an interview, so everything was already set up. So I'm like, oh my gosh, let's just do the stream now since everything's already here. So I appreciate your patience with regards to that. But you may also be wondering, who is this guy talking? Well, hi, my name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath. That is one of the 4 keys to a natural sound in American English pronunciation, including placement, pitch, breath, and trying to weaken your consonant sounds and strengthen your vowel sounds. You will notice that speed is not one of those topics, but it is still something that I want you to kind of experiment with. And when we say speed, I'm not saying that we always need to talk like this. I'm saying that sometimes we need to talk slow. Can you hear the difference between what I did at the beginning versus what I did at the end? We're going to play with that, looking at some examples from native speakers, and I want you to try to copy them and see if you can match them time-wise. They'll be easy for you. You can just kind of follow along on the slider and be honest with me. You can let me know in the chat or in the comments if you're live with us. Are you going faster than they are? Are you doing the same speed? Or are you going slower? Let us find out together. I'm going to play, let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 clips that we're going to be looking at with an eye on speed. Let's take a look at our first one.
For a lot of people, they still want culture. For a lot of people, they still want culture.
Okay, so one of the things that we're going to be referencing a lot is this idea of thought groups, or like what are the words that go together before the next group of words. And in this part, there are 2 distinct thought groups that I
For
am
a lot of
hearing.
people, they still want culture. For a lot of people, they still want culture.
The first thought group being for a lot of people, for a lot of people. That part a little bit faster, right? For a lot of people. But then what happens on the second
For a
thought
lot of
group?
people, they still want culture. For a lot of people, they still want culture.
Do you hear that second part suddenly slowing down a little bit and all the words start getting a little bit more emphasis? They still want culture. They still want culture. So we end up with something that kind of sounds a bit like this. For a lot of people, they still want culture. For a lot of people, they still want culture. It's just that little bit of an increase in speed at the beginning and then the slower speed in the second half of this. Can you notice that pace as it
For a lot
occurs?
of people, they still want culture. For a lot of people, they still want culture.
For a lot of people, they still want culture. For a lot of people, they still want culture. Okay, so that's the first just example, trying to shadow that, copy that, apply it to your own speech. Let's take a look at another example that you can use
And
here.
I appreciate the explanation. And I appreciate the explanation.
Okay, this strategy here, I think you see a lot when people are thinking and then you realize what you want to say. So you start slow and then you speed up. So you can catch that moment where that
And
occurs.
I appreciate the explanation. And I appreciate the explanation.
Starts real slow, right? Like, and I, and then what does it do? It just ramps up the speed. Appreciate the explanation, and I appreciate the explanation, and I appreciate the explanation. See if you can catch
And
that speed.
I appreciate the explanation. And I appreciate the explanation.
Okay. Are you making these sorts of shifts when you speak in English? I did right there. Right? Are you making these sorts of shifts a little slower when you speak in American English? Now we speed up. Okay. Are you able to do these things in your own speech when you're talking? Let's take a look at another example here.
But I kept it too much together. But I kept it too much together.
Okay. The speed change here is a little bit more subtle, but the pauses are really long. Okay. So this is another area where I see a lot of students losing time when they're shadowing, right? Where they're just not pausing as long as the native speakers are. Okay. This is a relatively long
But
section.
I kept it too much together. But I kept it too much together.
But I kept it too much together. But I kept it too much together. Ideally, the time you want to be looking at each time she says that, it's about 3 seconds long. Okay, let's do it one
But
more time.
I kept it too much together. But I kept it too much together.
And it's also a little bit slower on those first two thought groups, right? But I kept it, and then it starts speeding up just slightly. Too much together. But I kept it too much together. And then add one more clip I want you to experiment with in terms of speed.
I had everything. And I had everything. And I was.
Okay, the first part a little bit slower. I had everything. I had everything. And then we get our second thought group, which suddenly speeds things up. And I had everything. And I had everything. And I had everything. And okay. So that's just, again, another little section to pay attention to and play around with speed. So as you guys are practicing these things, how can you check yourself? One way you can is to take a section of native speaker speech, see what the length is. If you're using a platform like YouTube, that's great. If you have an audio file, just look at it, kind of like the music. You can see the scroll. Okay. Make a recording of yourself. See how long your recording is compared to the original. Are you about the same length? Are you faster? Are you slower? Try to find out what your normal tendency is too. Okay. What's up to Tina? Great to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Tina, how are you feeling about speed in terms of these phrases and things like that, or even in your own speech in general? One other thing, so something that we have in our Mission English group is we have a paragraph that we look at every month. So let's just kind of play around with speed here. Okay. I just want to look at that first sentence. So you can see we're going to work on that either down to intense. Okay. Tina says she feels attacked by this topic. Ouch. Why? Do you feel like you go fat? You feel like you go too fast, or you feel like you go too slow? By the way, if you would like to hop on with me to practice this, just let me know and I can toss you a link. Either you're going to love this or hate it because it's so much work and it's intense. So if we're going to play around with speed on this a little bit, first of all, let's maybe set some thought groups. So again, thought groups, groups of words that go together before our next group of words. Group of word. One thing that typically happens when you change a thought group, you change the pitch level. Come on, camera. Focus on my hands. Okay. Sorry. Tina says when I read, I read fast to prove accurate. I think that's something you see a lot. I think every time people learn a language, I had the same thing in Italian. When I was in Italy, I was like, I'm going to demonstrate I am good at Italian by speaking fast in Italian, and everyone think I'm more. When in reality, the biggest power move you often can make is the slow down. And the even bigger power move is the pause. It's really hard to pause. It takes a lot of confidence to be able to pause confidently. Okay. So let's maybe look at the first thought group. Let's do my first thought group. I'm going to do from either you're going to love this, I'm going to do that a little fast. In my second thought group, I'm going to go down to or hate it, and I'm going to do that slow. So let's kind of see if you guys can copy that. Either you're going to love this or hate it. Either you're going to love this or hate it. Maybe that's a little more natural, like hate it. Go into slow on the or, and then the hate, and then faster on the it. So let's again practice that. Either you're going to love this Either you're going to love this, then we're going to slow down, or hate it. Either you're going to love this or hate it. Okay? Let's do a similar pattern with the next part. Because it's so much work, let's go fast there, and it's intense. Let's go slow. Because it's so much work, and it's intense. You can play around with stress, play around with volume. There's so many things you play around. You can play around with pitch. There's so many options. It's a beautiful thing. Your voice is able to do so much. Yeah, we typically ask so little of it, you know, but it really can do so much for us if we just give it the opportunity. So let's, again, do that. Either you're going to love this or hate it. Because it's so much work and it's intense. Okay. A lot of this can also change depending on the type of emotion and things that you're trying to convey. Just a note. Okay. It's like, for instance, if you're like really excited, you know, that's going to change things a bit. Either you're going to love this or hate it. Because it's so much work and it's intense. A little bit excited, right? But maybe you're sad about it. Maybe you're a little upset. I get it. Yeah. Sorry, a little lag spike there. So maybe you're excited. Again, you're going to love this or hate it. Because it's so much work and it's intense. You know? What? Maybe you're really sad. Either you're going to love this or hate it. Because it's so much work and it's intense. It's very sad. The key thing, no matter what you do, is to experiment, play around, do things that are different than how you normally do. That's the big takeaway. Okay. Practice these things, guys. Give me an idea. Are you going fast? Are you going slow? Or are you doing the same speed that native speakers are when you're shadowing? All of these things I think are helpful to keep track of. And once more, it's very sad to say that I won't be there tomorrow morning because I'm here right now. I'm sorry. But I will be back at some point. We will have another stream for Wake Up American. I hope you guys have a good day, good night, and a good afternoon. Hey, thanks for hanging with me. Look, there's a lot of pronunciation resources talking with the students. They're like, Jeff, I don't know if there's really a million pronunciation teachers out there. There's a lot of pronunciation teachers out there, and the fact that you're here spending some time with me is greatly, greatly appreciated. You guys take care. I will see you next time. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good afternoon. Take care.